Hello. In today's video, I'm going to show you where you reside inside your brain, where your conscious self lies. You've seen those diagrams at hotels and museums with the floor plans, right? And the arrow that says you are here. Well, today we'll draw the floor plan of the brain and I'll show you where you are. It's a place I call the stage. And the reason, as you'll see in the video, is that the way your brain works, you are an observer in the play of your life. Sitting on the front row seats, all alone in the theater, eating popcorn, while you're watching the highlight reel of your life unfolding on the stage in front of your eyes. You get the illusion of control, the illusion of free will, but in reality, everything is pre-decided for you. Enough talk, let's discuss it in action. Now, ideally, you should have watched the previous video, the introduction to Noesis Theory, which I'll link below, above, everywhere. But since you're here now, stick around and I'll try to make it as accessible to you as well, even if you don't have the full Noesis Theory in your short-term memory. And you can watch the full video afterwards. Deal? I'm going to use a diagram of Noesis Theory. I have to because we need to show the floor plan of the brain, right? That's what I committed to do. But don't worry, I'll explain it along the way. So the diagram is this. Now, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, hold on, mister. That's way too many arrows and buzzwords for me to absorb right now. I prefer to go watch some cat videos. Don't go just yet. I got you. I've simplified the diagram for you, and I have even added a few kittens for your viewing pleasure. So here it is. Just focus on the big letters. Stay with me here for a moment to explain the basics, because with this diagram, we can describe any human thought and any interaction of every person, yourself included. And I promise, in a minute, I'll show you on this diagram where your consciousness lies. So let's start on the right part. What does the right part say? It says that depending on where I am now, who I am, what I'm doing, what I call the internal state, and what I care about right now, I have a set of predictions about the world, but sometimes something is unexpected or something that I want to achieve is unattained, and therefore I need to execute a workflow on the left side. So I ask why, I do what is called there the root cause query, and I get answers. Or if I need to do an action, I first ask myself, is it an easy action? Have I done it in the past? Maybe I've done, so let's use that. If it's an easy action, but it was not exactly like that in the past, maybe I need to recall something from my memory to make it more actionable. Or if it requires multiple steps to reach the goal, maybe I need to ask myself, okay, what's the next best action, the next thing that I need to do in order to achieve this seemingly unattainable goal? That's about it. That's the diagram. So where are you in this whole diagram? Let me give you a hint. You are the kitten in this diagram. So your conscious experiences is what is generated from those yellow processes that I just described. You are just a mechanism that I call the stage. You can think of it like a temporary results bucket. Hey, there's some dissonance in my brain, there's something unexpected. I'm trying to figure out what that is, to find the root cause, and any suggestions that my brain provides first land on the stage. Or there's some dissonance in my brain. I'm thinking on how to achieve a non-trivial goal. Any suggestions that my brain provides first land on the stage. The stage, together with our internal state, constitute what we could call, our short-term memory. Now, because this diagram is still a bit hard to grasp, I'm going to give you an even simpler mental model. Think of your brain like an octopus sitting on top of a big black box, holding a thingy in each of its tentacles. Let's say that 7 of those tentacles are the internal state, because we remember 7 plus or minus two things at any point in time. And the eighth tentacle is what we're holding active on stage, where our conscious self lies. Every time we want to explain something that was unexpected, every time that we want to pull something from memory, every time that we're trying to figure out what's the next best action to solve a problem, it's like we're releasing one of the 8 things that we were holding, taking the free tentacle and dipping it inside the black box of our brain and grabbing what we hope will be a suitable answer. That's what you experience on stage. That's where your conscious self lies. These are the mental images that you remember. My words right now are unexpected for you. So when I tell you pink elephant, well, you take the tentacle that was holding the least useful thing, let that thing go, and dip inside the black box of your brain, and you get the mental image of a pink elephant drawn inside your brain, visible for a brief moment on the stage. Of course, depending on your experiences, every person will get something different. For example, I happen to know of a restaurant called Pink Elephant, so my brain will also bring to the stage images from that restaurant. A kid might pull a cartoon character, or another person might just see a gray elephant, not necessarily pink. Whatever was recent, whatever was useful in the past, whatever is handy, your brain will pull out of the black box and give it to you on stage. If you like what you got, you integrate it inside your internal state. You hold on to it with your tentacle until it proves non-useful anymore. If you don't like it, you throw it away and try again until you get something better. And this is how our thought process drifts over time, from one topic to the next, holding on to new things, leaving other things behind. Our mental state is not static. It evolves based on the stimuli and the interpretations of those stimuli and our decisions. Okay, now that we have that mental model, let's try to use it to draw some useful conclusions about human nature. Conclusion number 1. We can only notice what is unexpected or unattainable. I already told you that our conscious part resides in the stage, and the stage only receives inputs from the problem-solving processes we discussed just before. Our conscious self is, lives in what Daniel Kahneman would say system 2. And that's because it serves a very specific purpose, to solve 2 types of problems: to explain the unexpected and to figure out how to attain the unattainable. We didn't get a free ticket to the show of our lives. We need to work for it. In fact, we get served information on a need-to-know basis. If it was expected, we don't get to see it. Up until now, you weren't really feeling the cushion in the chair you're sitting, right? Why? Because it's expected and therefore gets negated at the door, eliminated. Your conscious self is deprived of that stimulus because it doesn't need to care. It's not a crucial component in the problem that needs to be solved. Similarly, if an action is easy to execute, it works like a charm. We don't notice it. We don't think about it. It doesn't land on stage. You don't need to think on how to get up from your chair, right? If you decide you need to, it just happens. It's a problem that you solved quite some time ago. You have all the action choreographies stored in your brain, and you can fire them up one after another in proper synchronization. And if it works as expected, then you're not even allowed to think about it. You won't get the opportunity to focus on it. The solution won't land on stage. Your stage is reserved for more difficult things. But if your kid has tied your shoelaces in the feet of your chair, then yes, then it's a goal that is not immediately actionable, and you need to come up with the next best action. So you'll use that 8th tentacle, pull out the proposed solution from the black box, land it on stage on your conscious brain, and if it feels that's an easy interim step that makes the end goal actionable, then you execute. So we only notice what will serve these mechanisms. So you cannot do what you want in your life. You cannot look where you want. You're always serving a higher purpose that is above your control. You are watching this video because of a promise of pleasure and amazement I gave you at the start of the video. Or you are looking at your phone because the ringing was unexpected and you need to resolve it to look who it is. You don't really have any control on what lands on stage. You're always prioritizing to solve the biggest problem, the biggest dissonance in your brain, or what I call the biggest differential. Now, conclusion number 2. You have zero control over the solutions that will come out of the black box of your brain. For example, when you are doing a root cause query, trying to answer, why is he looking at me like that? You'll just get a plausible answer based on your past experiences. Or, hey, I reached in my bag or in my pocket, where's my mobile? It was supposed to be there. You'll get a plausible answer based on your recent memories. You have no control over what potential root cause will be suggested. It just lands there, and you get to experience it for a brief moment. Another example from another conscious process, what I call the particularization query, or what you can think of as the memory recall. In fact, let's do an experiment together. So play along with me on this. I'll ask you a question, and you need to answer me very, very, very fast. The first thing that comes to your mind, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so answer very, very fast. But first, repeat after me. White, 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 white. Repeat after me. White, 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 white. Now, quickly, what does the cow drink? I hope you didn't say milk. Did you? Because the cows drink water, like every other animal, right? You see, you have no control over your own black box. You dip the tentacle in, get the answer on stage, and if it seems relevant to the query, then you accept it and move on. In this specific case, I manipulated your query, because by forcing you to repeat white, the brain thinks that it's part of the query. White, cow, drink, the best first match is milk. And since we're in the topic of how we're trying to pull stuff from memory, fun fact. When you try really hard to remember something, essentially you are manipulating your short-term memory. You're manipulating what you're holding in its tentacle to influence what will be pulled from the black box. So let's say you're trying to remember the name of an actor in a movie, but nothing comes up. Maybe you'll execute a sub-goal and bring on stage the image of that person, how he looks. And then you dip the tentacle in the black box and say, okay, brain, I helped you. Now give me his name. If it doesn't work, well, maybe you execute another action. You pull random letters of the alphabet and repeat them inside your brain. Their sound landing on stage. Maybe it starts with an A, G, and you see, now brain, can you pull his name from the black box, please? No. You know that you know his name, you have it at the tip of your tongue. But why is the brain not bringing it back to you? You see, you have no control over what will be pulled from the black box. You only experience the result on stage and get to decide whether it's acceptable or not, whether it feels right. And the worst part of it is that you don't even get to decide whether the proposed solution that lands on stage is right or not. What? Crazy? Unfortunately, it's true. The algorithm to decide is predetermined, and here it is. It's the right solution if it eliminates or greatly reduces the dissonance in your brain, what I call the differential. Now, to fully understand what I'm talking about, you really need to watch the other video because I was explaining that for about 15 minutes. But in short, you take the solution that landed on stage, you combine it with everything else that you have in short-term memory, your internal state, and you ask, does it solve the problem? Meaning, does it make the unexpected expected? Does it make the unattainable attainable? If the answer is probably yes, then you just accept it. but you don't get any explanations as to why. Because the answer of that question, why it makes sense, never lands on stage. Because remember, you're on a need-to-know basis here. It's like trying to repair an electrical circuit that is broken. You're piecing together some scrap cables, trying to attach them on the open wires. And if you're successful and the circuit closes and the device works, then fine. You just leave it at that. You don't get to experience the rest of the circuit to know how the current traveled across and why it's now able to complete a full loop. You just know that it worked and moved on. Another example. Let's say you just saw your cousin at the airport. That was unexpected. Why is he here? You dip inside the black box and you get a memory. He had said that he would be visiting his mother next weekend. And somehow now it makes sense to you. If it didn't, if the answer had increased the dissonance in your brain, for example, because you thought, no, this was the other weekend and not this one, then sure, you get to continue experiencing stuff on stage, continue the thought, because the solution is not yet final. You can now release another tentacle from the 8 that you have, dip that one as well inside the black box, and hope that you pull out the missing link that explains all of them together. And of course, we can come up with many, many examples like that. The conclusion is that you don't get any special explanation of why those solutions feel right. We call it instinct. But ultimately, it's not you who's deciding. Solutions are pulled out of the black box and given to you, landing on the stage in front of your eyes. Supposedly for you to decide whether you'll keep them or not. But then, instead of you deciding, it's like somebody is handing you a piece of paper with a decision, and you only just announce it. You don't get to make your own decisions. Okay, let's allow all this to sink in and try to understand the implications from all this. Let's try to draw some philosophical conclusions. Somebody could say that human life is deterministic. There's no free will. Consciousness is just an illusion, since after all, you are not you. You are just a spectator with a front row seat inside a flesh automaton. You get to see how it evolves, you get to see how it acts, but you were never really in control. It's like watching your favorite sports team, sitting alone at night on your couch in front of your large TV. You get to see the successes and failures of your team, feel the pain of every loss, feel the rush of joy with every victory. In the end, you have experienced so much of it for so long that it feels like an extension of yourself, an extension of your ego, an integral part of your personality. You've built an affinity, a passion, a connection. The line has blurred between where the definition of you ends and where the definition of your team starts. That's all good and great, but you were never really in control of what your team can do on the field, right? You were never really the actor. You had no say in your team's actions and no way to influence the outcome at any point in time. You were just a spectator. That's exactly how consciousness is built in our brain over time. We're a front row spectator inside our body. We're a necessary tool, a needed invention to store the interim solution, to hold on to it for a few fractions of a second until we evaluate it to decide whether it's good or not. And because we'll stay in that place from the start till the end, we kind of grow the feeling that we own the place. Yeah, my football team is mine. It's not like they won the match. I won the match. We're invested. We're all in. And it makes sense. But we're only a spectator. So from one spectator to another, I salute you. And I'm glad that we had this unexpected for both of us, and it allowed to enter the conscious part of our minds, and we were able to meet each other. We might have no control over it, but at least we can enjoy the ride. So from one spectator to another, enjoy the popcorn.